Hello, and a warm welcome to our show, Love Athletics. In this program, we bring you the latest highlights from our sport with expert input from different continental areas. And we're delighted to have with us today John Gault of premier running website, letsrun.com. Hello, Jonathan. Lovely to see you again, and a big thank you for joining us.
Hey, Anna, of course. And yes, it was nice seeing you in Toruń as well. Excited to be on the show.
Yeah, that was great. And it was really a brilliant Love Championships last weekend. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So we'll start by reviewing that competition, then take a quick look back at the NCAA Division 1 champs and a couple other top events, in particular, the stunning marathon debut by Foyt Tesfaye in Barcelona. So here we go with the World Indoors. Competition was held in Toruń, Kuwadzi Pomorze region, as they wanted us to call it, on 20 to 22 March. So, John, you've been to a few World Indoors. What was your overall impression of the 2026 edition?
I thought it was a great meet. It was good to have sold-out crowds on Saturday and Sunday night when most of the top finals were. And you had a decent number of stars showing up because there's no traditional outdoor championships this year. So that was nice to see. Some really exciting races, a couple world records in there. And I thought the atmosphere was better than it was in Nanjing. Last year, the crowd was not as big. They weren't quite as into it. I feel like in Europe, you almost always get a good crowd. And this was about 6,000 seats in the arena. Really good atmosphere Saturday and Sunday. So it was a good meet. I really had fun going out in Poland.
Definitely very good meet. Let's have a look at some key figures from the event. So 632 athletes, 323 men, 309 women from 111 countries. 2 world records, of which 1 equaled, 6 championship records, 12 world leads, of which 2 equaled, 6 area records, 2 world bests in single events and combined events, 46 national records. So all of that meant that the competition performance score for Toruń was the highest ever at a World Indoors, a total of 49,516, which is better than the previous one in Belgrade 2022. The very best came from Swiss combined eventer Simon Ehammer, who with 6,670 points added 25 points to the total recorded by the USA's Ashton Eaton in Istanbul in 2012. Bahamian Devin Charlton, she equaled her own world indoor record with 7.65 to win her 3rd consecutive title. So we'll speak in detail about both performances later. But I'd like now to ask Jonathan, who were your top 3 male performances?
Okay, well, I wanted to start with Jordan Anthony, who won the men's 60 meters on the first day of the competition on Friday. And part of it is because his performance was outstanding. He ran 6:41 in the final to move to number 4 all time. And he did it while having a lot of kinesio tape on his arm after he had been, they tried to do a drug test of his arm the other day, 2 days before the meet. And instead of getting in a vein, the doping control officer just missed the vein, injected his arm, it swole up. He claimed the size of a soccer ball. I'm not sure if I quite believe that, but it clearly, it didn't allow him to totally straighten his arm or totally rotate it. It didn't matter. He had this outstanding performance, and it also showed me this guy is going to be one of the guys to watch on the global sprint scene for the next few years. He's only 21. This is his first year of sprinting full time after playing American football for the last few years. So he's now with Noah Lyle's training group. We've got a home Olympics in the United States 2 years from now. And I think he really should be one of the ones to watch in the men's sprints.
Definitely. And I really liked his personality. As you said, he didn't let this incident with the blood clot, some other athlete may have freaked out, may have gone into a negative spiral. Instead, he was really positive throughout the whole thing. And I liked, a little bit of cockiness. I loved a lot of people thought I'd wet the bed coming here. I loved that quote. So I really think, obviously, he's very talented, and he's just got, in my mind, the perfect mix of a little bit of cockiness and positivity. I think he'll be a great champion in the years to come.
Totally. He's not quite like Noah, where he's out brash and saying, I'm going to win this event for sure. And, everyone, this is my event. But he does have it enough, I think, to succeed in sprinting, because you do need a little bit of an ego, I think, to be good in the sprints. But it also is nice training with Noah, who has been on the biggest stage and won on the biggest stage so many times, because he told him before he left for Poland, like, hey, expect the unexpected. Something crazy might happen. And something crazy happened to him before he even ran his first race, and he managed it beautifully.
Yeah, no, definitely. That'll be a good combination, the two training together.
Yeah. So my second performer I was really impressed by was the 17-year-old American Cooper Lutkenhaus. And as I'm sure everyone has heard by this point, he is the youngest world indoor champion ever. He won the men's 800 meters, ran 1:44.24 in the final, which was the fastest time since Wilson Kipketer back in 1997, when he set the world indoor record, which was, then broken this year by Josh Hoey. But multiple things stand out to me. Obviously, the age with Cooper, 17. It's crazy to be winning a world title that young. He went up and beat some very good guys: Eliott Crestan, Mohamed Atoui, Peter Boll. They're all 142 guys. But the other thing was just his tactics and his racing poise, because when Cooper made the world championships in the outdoor 800 last year in Tokyo, he ran like a rookie. He ran on the outside of lane 2. He never really got in great position. He went out in the first round. I was concerned going up against a very experienced indoor racer like Crestan, who is now medaled in 3 straight world indoors, that he might get exposed. He might not get in the position he wanted. None of that really seemed to bother him. He ran really smoothly. He made all the right moves in the final. He ends up winning it. And obviously he's going to be a big star, I think, in the years to come.
Definitely. And Crestan himself was impressed. He was obviously a little bit disappointed after getting silver again, but he was repeatedly comparing Cooper to David Rudisha. And he also said, well, I'm a bit disappointed now, but maybe in 10 years, I'll look back at this historical race and I'll be proud that I was a part of it.
Yeah,
so that just shows how good he was.
Comparing anyone to Rudisha, the greatest ever in the 800s, obviously high praise, but looking at what Lutkenhaus has done, running 1:42.27 at the age of 16, now winning world indoors at 17, you would say that is the ceiling. Is like you could be looking at the greatest ever one day, but I think for right now, just to win that world title and to execute it so smoothly had to be one of the performers of the meet for me on the men's side.
Yes. Just one little parenthesis about the qualifying system for the final, because you have Maciej Widerka, who was one of the most consistent runners this year, third best time and he's out. They just had this system in which it was straight qualifying for the top 2 in each semi, and there was no I'm not sure that was really fair, as I say, especially with Widerka clocking the third best in the semis and finishing out of the final. What do you think about the qualifying system?
I like that they just have auto spots and no time qualifiers, because it rewards racing. It throws another thing out of it. One less thing to worry about as a fan, and also the runners in the last heat will have an advantage. If they see the first two heats go slow, they know exactly how fast they have to go. So I'm okay with that. I just think that in general, qualifying the 800 is always brutal. Whether it's outdoors, you're going 3 heats, 24 athletes down to 8, or indoors, down to 6. It's just really tough. That's one of the things that makes the 800 such a demanding event, is that there's no easy path to the final. But yeah, I don't mind having just auto spots for World Indoors.
In any case, the best guy definitely won. So
Agreed. And then another event where I think the best guy won would be my third standout performer is the Heptathlon with Simon Ehammer from Switzerland. Obviously, if you break a world record, I think that means you're one of the performers of the meet. For him to break an Ashton Eaton world record that had stood for 14 years, that was really incredible. And, when you look at the heptathlon, if you're breaking a world record, it probably means you're going to be competitive individually in 1 or 2 events with like the very best in the world. We already know Ehammer is one of the best long jumpers in the world. He's a 2-time Diamond League champion, but his 60 hurdles time, I think 7:52 in Toruń, 6:52 in Toruń. Also one of the 7:52. I keep stepping over my times here. 7:52. He's obviously one of the most competitive in the world in that event as well, if he had run that individually. So just a really impressive meet for him.
No, that was really impressive. His hurdles at the start of the second day was crazy. And after that, he knew that he needed, obviously that gave him more than 1,100 points, I believe, but he still knew that he had to do very well in the pole vault. And I think he cleared 5:10, 5:20, and 5:30, all in the third attempt. But once he'd done that, he was pretty okay, because his 1,000 is not the very best, even though he did set his third PB of the competition after the 660 and the 60 hurdles. But no, great. And he had no counter performances. He was really good in all events. So that was pretty amazing.
Yeah, I think the pole vault was really helpful for him. It gave him that wiggle room with the 1,000 where, yes, he did run a personal best, but he didn't need to go and do something like insane to get the world record. So yeah, the 60 hurdles, the long jump, the 60, those are his strongest ones, but I think the pole vault was the one that really helped him get that world record.
Yeah, even though he did take, what was it, 800s off the world heptathlon best in the hurdles. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
Now, another world best in combined events came from the USA's Anna Hall in the 800. Now, that's one of her strongest events. She took 2/10 off the previous best, but unfortunately, all her other events had been not as good as her standard, so she wasn't able to bridge the gap to Sofie Dokter. What do you think about Anna and the pentathlon?
Yeah, I think she's probably going to be a little disappointed that she couldn't get the gold, given that she came in as the world champion. But another medal in a global final, I don't think you can ever be too disappointed with that. She is now racking them up since turning pro in 2022. So yeah, something to move forward from, but she's in a good spot in her career right now.
No, definitely. So Jonathan, I totally agree with your top 3 picks. I would just like to add the men's pole vault, not only because Duplantis won his 9th title in 9 global events this decade. Manolo Karalis, again, silver with 6:05, very good attempts at 6:20 and 6:25, which make you feel he'll get there. already after he'd cleared 6 meters 17 at the national indoors, he had a very good attempt at 6:31. So it'll come. It's no longer territory reserved for Mondo, but also for the second time in history, 3 men cleared 6 meters or more. So that's pretty impressive. And what I really love is the fact that this year the event is growing. There's 4 more athletes who cleared 6 meters. Sondre Guttormsen now has 6:06. Matvey Volkov and Zachary Bradford, who's been super consistent this year at a lot of 590s and then also more with the 6:01. And Curtis Marshall clearing 6 meters for the first time and repeating it in Toruń for bronze. So I think that's really a brilliant, it's always one of my favorite events, but this year it's even more exciting.
Yeah, it's loaded. I mean, obviously you've got Mondo, who, if he's not the greatest of all time, it's him or Bubka, but I think, it's trending towards Mondo at this point. And then Manolo, any other era, would be the guy, as you said, 6:17, number 2 all time. And all these other guys who are going 6:05 or 6 meters, they would be contending for gold medals, 10 years ago. It's just the event has, Mondo and Manolo have literally raised the bar in that event.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Now let's look at the women. Who were your 3 top performers?
I've got to lead off with Keely Hodgkinson, who won her first indoor world title. And she'd been trying to get this one for several years. Always something popped up injury related in the winter for her. This year, she said she just wanted to make it through the indoor season. She didn't even set goals for meets or times until she knew she was going to be healthy. But then training was going really well, and she realized, okay, let's start running some races. She sets the world record in Louvain, and then comes to world indoors and absolutely dominates. 1:55:30, number 2 all time. Performance only behind her own world record from earlier in the season. Totally dominated that event. And if that's not enough, she comes back less than an hour later and splits 50.10 on the 4x4 running the anchor for the British team. So, and that was not only the fastest split of the meet, it was the second fastest split ever in the women's 4x4. So for me, she was, I'll get to my second performance in a minute because there was also a world record, but I think Keely's the woman whose performance I'm going to remember the most from these championships.
Now, as you say, that relay split just an hour after, it was totally crazy. It just shows you how crazy strong she is.
Yeah. I saw her going out hard and I'm like, okay, that's pretty, she's turning her legs over, but it was hard to compare how fast she was going at some of the leadoff legs, some of the other anchor legs, because she was just so far back. But then you see the split at the end and I was like, okay, wow, that's speed I wasn't quite sure she had. So that's what she's going to need if she's going to push on and try to get the outdoor world record, is you're going to need to have probably 49-second speed in the 400 to do that. So she's made really good progress. It's awesome to see. She's really having fun out there. Great personality. So yeah, great meet for Keely. All right. Number 2 female performer for me was Devon Charlton of the Bahamas. She won the 60 hurdles for the 3rd consecutive championship. She tied her own world record, 7:65, from Glasgow 2 years ago. And for me, obviously the performance was really good. That's why I have her as one of my top performers. But I also have to note, she, to me, is now the greatest 60 hurdler of all time on the women's side. She's got 3 global titles, which is more than anyone else. She has the top 3 performances ever. And she's run 2 of her world records at World Indoors. So she's a big meet performer as well. To me, she's it. She's the best we've ever seen in this event.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
So that was great to see. And then my number 3 performer, I would have Georgia Hunter-Bell, who won the 1500, 358, 53, world leader, beat Jessica Hull, the Olympic silver medalist. So she got a little revenge for getting beat in Paris in the 1500s at the Olympics. Those two, have a good relationship. I think they all get along pretty well in the women's 1500. And I thought she managed the race really well because we saw Berga Hailem from Ethiopia take off really quickly early on. And the question was, will other athletes follow her or will they hold back? And they, Georgia Hunter-Bell managed it really well. She then decided, okay, when she needed to start bridging the gap, she did that smartly and measured her effort perfectly, really had a nice little extra burst in the home straight to hold off Hull for the victory. So very good victory for her and a great weekend for the M11 track club of coaches Trevor Painter and Jenny Meadows, because they not only had Keely Hodgkinson win the gold, they had Georgia Hunter-Bell also win the gold. So 2 gold medalists for the same training group.
Yes, that was pretty amazing. And actually, I'm glad that Georgia Hunter-Bell was the first one to take gold, because at least for a few minutes, she had all the attention. If Keely had taken the first one, her gold would have passed a little bit, not unnoticed, but not quite as appreciated, I think.
Yeah,
so
Keely,
thanks,
is the one. Yeah, because Keely's the Olympic champion, so she's usually in the spotlight a little more.
Yes, definitely. Now, on my side, maybe I'm being a little bit chauvinistic, but I want to highlight the great performances by Nadia Battocletti and Zainab Dosso, taking gold in the 3,000 and in the 60 meters. Now, that's a combination which not many countries can boast. And especially Nadia, she is the daughter of her father was a long distance runner and is her coach, but she is also the daughter of Jawara Sadougi, Moroccan 800-meter runner. She's a practicing Muslim, and she was fasting the whole month of Ramadan, which only ended on the 19th of March, so 2 days before the competition. And she was so debilitated a week before the race that she wanted to pull out. But then her parents convinced her, no, give it a shot. And it's a good thing they did. So that was really, really cool. And as for Zainab, of course, she already had bronze and silver at this event. But to go and win gold for Italy is a pretty seismic event.
Yeah, I think Julian Alfred, everyone had her as the favorite. She is the Olympic champion. She won World Indoors in 2024 and had been running well this year. So Dosso, I knew she was good. I didn't think she would take down Alfred. I thought it was great for her. And Battocletti, like you said, given the fasting over the last month, really impressive for her to come through that and win. I had her as the favorite going in just because we've seen what she does at the major championships outdoors. But to still have that kick after what she's been doing the last month, very impressive as well. Yeah, so it was a nice weekend for the Italian women.
Yes, it was. So let's go back to some stats and figures. 6 championships records were set in Kuwaji Pomorskie. Among the men, Chris Morales-Williams. Now, I was really happy with his win, 44.76 in the 400 meters. That was cool. Pole vault, Mondo Duplantis with 6 meters 25. Simon Ehammer, we've already mentioned, 6,670 points. The US 4x4 relay was also very, very good, 301.52. And among the women, Keely Hodgkinson, her 155.30, and of course, Devin Charlton. If it was a world record, it was obviously a championship record. Anything you would like to add there, Jonathan?
I like that men's 400 final, and I know there was a lot of debate about the 2-section format, and not everyone seemed to be a fan. Particularly, all the Europeans I talked to at the meet were like, "This is a travesty." Whereas me coming from the US, I've seen this format at the NCAA championships every year, The athletes didn't really seem to mind it that much, but the race between Morales-Williams and Caleb McRae of the USA was really good. And to see Morales-Williams, who has the fastest time ever in this event, though it's not ratified as a world record, to see him get the gold and the way he ran the race, I thought that was really fun to watch. He was in such a good mood afterwards. He gave a great interview. So, yeah, I enjoyed watching that race.
Yeah, that was also one of my special moments. It didn't make the favorites, but it was really good because, as you say, Christopher Morales-Williams, we've known for several years that he's very fast, but he hadn't actually managed to turn that into medals. So that gold was really good. So let's look at the 12 world leads. Among the men in the 60 meters, first Trayvon Bromell ran in the semis in 6.42. And then, of course, Jordan Anthony, 6.41 in the final. Long jump, Gerson Balde, that was a bit of a surprise, 8 meters 46, 1 centimeter more than Božidar Saraboyukov, whom a lot of people thought was the favorite. In the triple jump, Andy Diaz-Hernandez back with 17 meters 47. Simon Ehammer, we've mentioned several times. Among the women, Georgia Hunter-Bell's 1,500 meter mark, 358.53 was also a world lead. Now, the 60-meter hurdles, everything changed in Toruń because first Pia Skrzyszowska ran 7.76 in the first in semi-final 2. Ditaji Kambunji placed second with the same time. Then Devin Charlton improved it to 7.74 in the third semi before thrashing it in the final. So that was a very dynamic event in Toruń. Then Leyanis Perez Hernandez of Cuba, she equaled the 14 meters 95 world lead of Yulimar Rojas. And in the pentathlon, 4,888 points for Sofie Dokter. So that was really interesting. So as you said, Jonathan, Devin Charlton is now the number 1 hurdler indoors, but that was because I thought it had been a bit slowish until the world indoors. The 60-meter hurdles, the times weren't that great, but that definitely changed.
Yeah, you'll usually see the hurdlers, like a couple of them will come up and show something surprising at these global championships. Like Ditaji Kambunji last year, I don't think anyone expected her to go into Worlds and come out and win, but she ends up running a big PB and doing that. So what I like about that event is a lot of the top women aren't afraid to compete against each other all the time and show up for these championships. We didn't see Masai Russell run USA Indoors or World Indoors, the Olympic champ from the USA, but generally these fields are always quite strong in the hurdle events at every championship.
Yes, absolutely. That's quite right. It's one of the things I like about the hurdlers, indoor and outdoor. They're not afraid of racing each other.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at the final data screen, and that's the area records. Now, we normally produce individual screens for every continental best, but there were just too many, so we lumped them all together in one screen. Hope they won't be offended. So there were 6 area records in Kuwaji Pomorze. Of course, Simon Ehammer's world record and Devin Charlton are also area records, but there were 4 other best ever continental marks. 60-meter hurdles, Franco Leroux of South Africa with 7.50. That was cool. It belonged to Sean Bones with 7.52 since 2001. Simon Ehammer, we've mentioned at length, Devin Charlton as well. In the 800 meters, Peter Ball, 145.14. He improved the 145.59 by Charlie Hunter in 2021. and another Oceania record for Jessica Hull in the 1500, 3:59.45, going below 4 minutes for the first time and taking back her record from Georgia Griffith, who was just above 4:00.80 last year. And finally, for South America, Mateusz Lima in the 400 meters, 45.71. It was his own area record, which he improved. It was 45.79 in the World Indoors in Nanjing. So he's had some very good marks this year, but he has this capacity to run his best at where it matters most. So that's good. So let's talk about surprises now. John, who were the athletes you were not expecting to perform well and in Poland?
Well, I'm usually focused on the distance events, so I've chosen 2 middle distance runners or distance runners for this one. The first on the men's side is Adam Spencer of Australia, who got the bronze in the men's 1500. And I thought that was quite an interesting race with Mariano Garcia leading almost all of it and just ratcheting up the pace gradually. And eventually it was enough to get rid of the world outdoor champion in that event, Isaac Nader. But Adam Spencer comes in for the bronze, and he moved up nicely on the last lap. He just stuck on the rail and then had to stay patient, eventually made a break for it, got the bronze. This is a guy who I've been watching for several years because he competed collegiately at the University of Wisconsin and never quite got the NCAA title. He was always one of the contenders, but seemed like someone from University of Washington, whether it was Nathan Green or Joe Waska, would always beat him out. He comes in here, his first global championships as a full-time pro, his first after joining Coach Thomas Lewandowski's group, and gets the bronze. It just shows you how competitive the NCAA is, that a guy who never won a title there is now a world medalist. So I thought I was impressed by him, especially because his results coming in had been, nothing really indicated that he was ready to make this breakthrough. So that was a great run for him.
Yeah, he was definitely thrilled in the mix zone. He had a huge smile on his face.
Yeah. No, it's always nice to see the athletes, like, to talk to someone who maybe wasn't expecting to do that well and then to have their breakthrough and have them talk you through it. So great run for him. And on the women's side, I went with Emily Mackay, who got the silver medal in the 3,000 meters. Now, Mackay did medal at World Indoors 2 years ago. She's run 3:55 for 1,500. So, she has some experience on the world stage, but for her to outkick Jess Hull, who has been one of the world's top middle distance runners for the last couple of years in the women's 3,000 meter final, I was really impressed by that. And, backed up what she did at the U.S. Indoor Championships, where she upset Ellie St. Pierre, the 2024 world indoor champion in the 3,000 meters. So Mackay, she left her training group last year, New Balance Boston, and moved out to Boulder. She's got a new coach, Pete Julian, and it seems to be working out for her because she, delivered. And now she's got 2 medals from the World Indoors, a silver and a bronze.
Yeah. Now, Jonathan, you mentioned Mackay, but I think we should also highlight the fact that U.S. women medaled in all of the distance events, unlike the men.
You're absolutely correct, because I remember sitting down with you in Toruń in the media cafeteria, and we were talking about how good the distance running men have been in the United States recently. And I thought they had a chance to really get a medal in every event. And the women, not so much. I thought Nikki Hiltz might get a medal if they had a really great race, but I wasn't predicting Mackay. I wasn't predicting Addie Wiley in the 800. So for the U.S. women to get a medal in every single women's event was really impressive. Whereas on the men's side, you still had 2. They had a gold medal from Cooper Lutkenhaus and a silver medal from Cole Hucker. So it's not as if the U.S. men had a bad meet, but the U.S. women, I was very impressed with how they did.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we also need to mention the fact that for the very first time at World Indoors, there were 0 medals for African distance runners. Now, it's true that Ethiopia was badly affected by the fact that 4 of their athletes were refused visas. And this is crazy because they had competed in Toruń at the World Indoor Tour meet just a month before. But for some reason, they were, refused visas now. One of them was former 800-meter world champion Sige Duguma. Then you had the under 20 strong runners, Saron Berhe, and I always get her name wrong, Haregweni Kalayu. But also Freweni Hailu, who was their strongest athlete, she was a victim of the jostling in the 3000 and she fell. But I think, Jonathan, that they also employed some rather strange tactics, don't you think?
Well, Burka Hailom certainly did in the women's 1500 final. And we've seen this before from some Ethiopian athletes. We saw it from Gudaf Sagai last year. And Sagai went out very fast, as she always did, but then just dropped everyone and held on to win. So if you have the fitness, if you're just 3 or 4 seconds fitter than everyone else, you can do it. I don't think Burka Hailom had the fitness. She went out trying to run, I think about 3:54 was her pace through 800. She's not in that kind of shape right now, and it totally torpedoed her race. We saw this last year as well with the Ethiopian women in the 800. They went out crazy fast, and in the end, Prudence Godiso of South Africa took the gold in the women's 800 at World Indoors. So, yeah, I think sometimes, we've seen this in the past that sometimes the Ethiopians get tactics wrong. And I think Hailom, would she have medaled in the 1500 if she went out more conservatively? I'm not sure. That was a very competitive event, but I don't think she helped her chances at all. I think that cost her any chance at a medal.
Yeah, and I thought it was funny. Okay, maybe she didn't want to get caught up in the group and risk the same fate as Freweni, but still, she's an experienced athlete. She's very young, but she's been competing on world championships, diamond leagues for years. So to see her taking off like that, yeah, I was a bit surprised. And the men's 3000, they did the same. The 2 Ethiopians, they just went out far ahead and then they got reeled in.
Yeah, I guess they were just thinking a faster pace might help them. They didn't go out crazy fast, but
no,
I never really expected them to be able to hang on because they never shook the kickers like Kerr and Cole Hawker, or even Jan Schrub of France, who I didn't really have pegged as a kicker, but kicked really well for him. He just ran the World Cross Country Championships 2 months ago, so I thought that was a great run for him as well to get the bronze.
Yeah, he was over the moon. Schrub was saying, well, that's not bad for a 5 and 10K runner.
Yeah.
He was quite happy. Now, on my side, I didn't expect Lourdes Gloria Manuel to win the 400. She becomes the youngest ever winner of the event. And she'd been sidelined for 9 months with a really bad hamstring injury. So I think that was really good. And her coach, Laurent Meuly, who of course is the coach of Femke Bol and Lieke Klaver, he says that this is only the beginning. So we'll see.
Yeah, no, 20 years old, win a world title in that event. That's awesome running. And I'm glad he was happy at the end of the meet because he was definitely didn't seem to be happy about the format with the 2 sections, but his athletes still got the gold.
Well, he got a gold and a bronze, so I guess in the end he was kind of okay with it. But it's true that for us, we're not used to it in Europe, so this idea of splitting the final is kind of weird. But in the end, it worked. And even if, Lourdes, she was running, I'm not saying alone, but the others were further behind. Bukowiecka and Klaver, they were pushing each other. But in her, in final 2, Manuel was far ahead of the others, but it worked out. So in addition to all the superlatives we've been talking about above, there are other performances which maybe were not records, but which are still special. So, Jonathan, what special moments would you like to highlight?
I would say one was Jakub Semensky winning the 60-meter hurdles in front of the home fans in Poland. It's, the home athletes always get a bigger cheer during introductions. The race environment is always a bit louder when you've got a home athlete in contention. And when they win gold, the celebrations are louder than for any other athlete. So Poland has a nice history in track and field. They send athletes to a lot of events. They've got some pretty good competitive athletes across a number of events. For them to win a gold medal, it was just really fun. And the crowd, that was probably the loudest they've been all weekend when his name flashed up at first place in the 60-meter hurdles. And he's been having a great season. I just looked it up. He went undefeated all year long. So 740 to win the gold, that was really an awesome moment.
That was really, really good. I felt a bit sorry for Trey Cunningham, who'd run 7:35 in the earlier rounds, but apparently I read he said that he was cramping in the final.
Yeah, I saw something like that. He didn't stop to talk in the mix zone. I think he was so devastated because he wanted that gold so badly, but that would explain it because he was not the same guy as we saw in the semis.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the other moment that really stuck out to me was Keely Hodgkinson just coming back for the 4x4 anchor. And I know we already talked about her as one of my performers at the meet, but you don't usually see this. An 800 woman coming back, and not just the 800 runner, the world champion of the 800 coming back less than an hour later. When I saw the news that this was happening, I saw it on Twitter, I was just like, no, I didn't think it was possible. You just don't see an athlete of her caliber usually do that. And then as soon as she did it, I'm like, all right, I need to know, like, how fast is she going to go? What's going to happen? Is she going to run anchor? All this sort of stuff. It's one of those hypotheticals that we as track fans always wonder about and don't always get to see. So for her to actually, say, hey, I want to do it. And I know I can break 51 if you give me the baton. And then she comes out and runs the fastest split of the night. That was just a cool moment. And you don't get to see that at most championships.
Yeah, quite right. Thank you, Jonathan. Now, I also had a few special moments. The first is the fabulous 29 minutes for British athletics, in which they won 3 golds, starting with Georgia Hunter-Bell, Molly Coddery, and Keely Hodgkinson. Now, that was really, really crazy. Hodgkinson, of course, as we said, second best ever mark. And then she goes out and runs the relay. But, that was a super special moment. 29 minutes, 3 gold medals. Bang, bang, bang. Wow.
Yeah. All of the British journalists, I think, were immediately thinking back to Super Saturday at the 2012 Olympics when Mo Farah, Jessica Ennis, and Greg Rutherford all won their gold. So this was Super Sunday for the Brits.
Exactly. Mm-mm. Now, for me, another moment which was special was Mariano Garcia, because coming back to win 1,500-meter gold 4 years after having taken the 800 title, well, he's the only one to have done that. So I like that. And I like his personality as well. He was declaring that, he's looking to Jakob Ingebrigtsen for inspiration. And he was, he went up front, then he started to increase the pace, as you noted. So, and beating Isaac Nader, not bad at all. He seems to shine more on indoors than outdoors. But Mariano Garcia is an athlete I like.
Yeah, I like his celebration as well with the motorcycle. You can just, he doesn't speak English, but you can tell he's got a great personality.
Yes. And then Tom Walsh. I mean, his fourth shot put gold 10 years after the first title. That's quite impressive length of time to stay at the top. He's got 7 in world indoor medals in all, and he's now gone ahead of the legendary high jumper Sotomayor. So that's pretty cool. And I think for Walsh, it was even more appreciated because it came after his 4th place in Tokyo, where he was booted out of the podium in the last round. So I was happy for Tom Walsh. Then I always like it when unexpected countries win a medal. So Mexico's Eric Portillo adding 2 centimeters to his personal best to take silver in the high jump. That was a pretty cool moment. And Ukrainian winter Oleg Doroshuk seemed to appreciate as well. And of course, another athlete who comes from a country which we haven't seen medaling for a long time is Senegal's triple jumper Sally Sarr. She already had set a PB to place 6th at the outdoor championships in Tokyo last summer. She added 15 centimeters to that to take bronze with 14 meters 70. Now that's just behind 2 great ladies, Leyanis Perez Hernandez and the returning Yulimar Rojas. So congratulations to Sally Sarr. And finally, I'd like to highlight the performances of young athletes in Toruń. Now, of course, Cooper Lutkenhaus was the most successful teenager, but there were others, including Tomáš Horak. Now, 400-meter runner from Czechia. He only came to prominence, at least I only noticed him, at the Czech under-20 championships. He broke the top 15 under-20s of all time. And in the final in Toruń, he was an excellent 5th, ahead of European record holder Attila Molnar, and the youngest ever athlete to reach a world indoors final. A shout out also to Cuba's 19-year-old long jumper Jorge Hodelin, who was just off the podium with 8 meters 26, and that's the longest under 20 indoor jump ever. Of course, Hodelin has 8 meters 34 outdoors from last year. And in that event, silver went to Mattia Furlani and bronze to Bojidar Saraboyukov. They're born in 2005 and 2004, respectively. So it was the youngest final at the 2026 World Indoors. And then again, a little bit of chauvinism, but I need to talk about the youngest of them all, Italy's Kelly Douala, aged 16 and 121 days on race day, youngest athlete in Toruń. She didn't make the final, but in the heats, she was running alongside Olympic champion Julian Alfred, and she managed 2nd to earn a spot in the final, clocking 7:27, which is equal 11th under 18 of all time, but she already has a much faster 7.19, which is number 4 of all time. But it was good. I think it's good that the Italian Federation brought her, and she was able not to feel too much pressure. After the semi, you could see she came through the mix zone and she was more uptight than she had been in the heat, but she could be a good one for the future. And then on the opposite side of the age spectrum, you have Slovenia's Tina Šutej, silver in the pole vault at 37. It's her 3rd medal in the last 3 World Indoors, and she had won the World Under-20 silver 20 years ago. So, wow, amazing career by Tina Šutej. So that's it then for the World Indoors wrap. Let's have a look at the medal table. USA 5 golds, 7 silver, 6 bronze, a total of 18 medals. Great Britain, 4 golds and no other medals, but 4 golds were great. Third place, Italy, 3-2 and 0. Ukraine, 2-1-0. Portugal, also 2-1-0. Then Spain, Netherlands, Belgium, Poland, Switzerland, Canada, Czechia, New Zealand, Cuba, and Bahamas, all with 1 medal and at least one gold and at least 1 other medals. So 16 athletes, 16 countries won gold, 32 countries won at least 1 medal. Now, the placing table, of course, was dominated by the US with a total of 164 points. Second was Poland, 58, Netherlands, 54, Jamaica, 52, and then Great Britain and Italy, both 49. And 50 countries achieved at least 1 top 8 finish. So pretty good. Now, as we noted, no medals for Africa. Europe had a very good showing. In all, they earned about 2/3 of the medals. Jonathan, anything you would like to add about the overall medal table?
It just stands out to me how far ahead the USA is. You're used to seeing Kenya or Ethiopia, not so much Kenya indoors, but
yeah,
they usually pile up a bunch of medals in the distance events, and I would have expected them to be, second or third in the medal table. They got shut out, and some of those went to Great Britain, some of them went to the US. So, that's what stands out to me, is just no Ethiopia at all.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that was something really, unique. So that's it then for the World Indoors. Let's now take a look back almost 2 weeks, well, 2 weeks, in fact, at the NCAA Division I Indoor Championships on 13 and 14 March in Fayetteville. Now, there were some pretty impressive performances there. So, Jonathan, what were your 3 favorite performances at the NCAAs?
I'll start with Garrett Kaland of USC winning the 200. He set an NCAA and American record of 1992. He was just the second person ever under 20 seconds indoors after Frankie Frederick's world record from 1996. Now, we know that's an event where many of the top sprinters won't run it. It's rarely run at the professional level. But the NCAA, a lot of top athletes do run it. So for him to do that and to win so convincingly was really impressive. And I think it shows, it's such a tight time. You got to run it so hard that he could drop a few more tenths off of his time running outdoors. We could be looking at something around 19.6 or something like that. So he's definitely going to be a guy to watch in the outdoor season as well.
Absolutely. And he's had an impressive season. He's got 4 of the 5 best times between 20.12 and his 19.95. So very, very consistent at the top. And I'm also really curious to see what he will do outdoors.
Yeah. Then my other top men's performer was Jacoby Tharp in the 60-meter hurdles. And he also broke the collegiate record. He ran 7:32. Which is the fastest time in the world this year. In fact, he's number 2 all time now, behind only Grant Holloway, who is clearly the greatest ever we've seen in the 60 hurdles, literally undefeated as a professional. And Tharp was really good last year as well. He won the US title in the 110 hurdles. He was the NCAA champion in the 60 hurdles. He's been at a very high level, but for him at age 20 to be running 7:32 and doing this sort of stuff, that it's even higher than what he was already accomplishing, and what he was accomplishing was pretty great. So, a hurdle talent like Grant Holloway comes around, you would say, only like once in a generation, but it looks like this guy, the more I see him run, the more and more he looks like the next Grant Holloway.
Yeah, absolutely. It's only his first year as a senior. He had an impressive under 20 career, but with this 7:32, he's really shouting that, hi, I'm really going to be big among the seniors as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and he made the World Championship final last year. He finished, I believe he was 5th. But for him to do that in his first global championship is also really good. So very impressed by him. Then on the women's side, the standout performer for me was Jane Hedengren of BYU. She is a true freshman, and so that's in her first year in the NCAA, 19 years old, and she swept the 5,000 and 3,000 meter titles for BYU. And to win, it's just very, very uncommon for a freshman to win. I think she was the first female freshman to win a distance event since Susie Favor-Hamilton in 1987 at the NCAA Indoor Championships. And I think she was the first ever to win the 5,000. So she was up against Doris Lemgele, the terrific NCAA cross-country champion from Alabama. Lemgele didn't seem to be 100% healthy. She ended up having to scratch the 3,000 the next day. But what Jane did, she closed that 5K so brilliantly, and then coming back the next day and winning the 3,000, just to do that all in your first year of collegiate running was incredible.
Yeah, really. I mean, she's an athlete we've been seeing, doing very, very well for several years. But you're quite right. This double, and over just 2 days, let's not forget, there wasn't any rest day in between. It was 3 and 5 in 2 days. So very impressive. So on my side, I would add Adija Hodge, who won the 200 in 22.22. Now, she's dominated the event this year, 22.32, 22.28, 22.22. So very, very good. That mark, her winning mark at the NCAAs, is the fastest in 3 years. Now, there is, however, a little bit of a cloud over it, because after it was announced by the AIU that she had been suspended since the World Under-20 Championships, where she had won gold in the 200 and silver in the 100. She'd been suspended for 2 years with 7 months suspended. So, and in fact, she hadn't competed after the U20s until the beginning of this year. Now, the substances she was banned for, I admit I haven't had time to look up. GW 501516 sulfone. That sounds a bit Chinese, but what the AIU is saying, that she was extremely cooperative, so that's why they suspended 7 months. So, Jonathan, what do you think about this case? Hugely talented athlete, as we know, but what do you think about this case?
Well, it's a bit complex because she was at Montverde Academy in Florida, which is one of the top, prep schools. It's a sprint powerhouse. And she's not the only athlete they've had who's tested positive for this substance. It's also, it goes by a number of names. GW 1516, I think, is how it's most well known. If you recall, a couple of years ago, Isama Singa, we thought he had set the world under 20 record in the 100 meters. He was banned for it. There's another sprinter from Jamaica, Skylar Franklin, who is going through her own case with the same substance at the moment. And what it seems like in this situation is, the common link is that they're all at Montverde Academy, this high school, and the coach there, Gerald Fury, was suspended as well by the AIU last year. They said he possessed GW 1516 when he was still competing as an athlete in 2018 and 2019. So, and you would have to think one of the reasons Hodge's ban was reduced is probably because she helped contribute to that suspension. So it's really quite messy. And if it was the case where you've got a coach providing this substance to the athletes, then you would feel bad for them. They're under 20 athletes. Yes, they have some responsibility to know what's going in their body, but also if you have a coach involved in that, that really raises a lot of concern. So I think we're still waiting for all of the details to emerge from this situation. But yeah, usually when it's a teenager doping, it's more than, they're getting it from some senior figure or someone older who's a bit more, experienced in the sport, you would think.
Yeah. Oh, that's a shame. I wasn't aware of the background and, several athletes in the club having had similar cases. Wow. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Yeah. Okay. So in Fayetteville at the NCAA's, 4 area records. And again, we'll put them all on one screen. Among the men, 2 African records, 60 meters, Kayinsola Ajayi. He equaled with 6.45. He equaled the continental best by Ghana's Leonard Miles Mills, dated back to 1999. But Ajayi had already equaled it 2 weeks ago. 400, this is an athlete who's really impressive. He was an Olympic finalist when he was very, very young. Samuel Ogazi, 44.57. He improved his own 44.72 from 28 February and moves to number equal 4 on the all-time list, tied with Caron Clement. NCAA NACAC, we've already spoken about Garrett Kalund, 19.95, moves to number 2 of all time, only behind the great Frank Fredericks. And among the women, there's another African record over 400 meters by Ella Onojuveo, 50.28 in heat 4. And she destroys the continental best of 50.73, which had been set by her compatriot Charity Opara back in 1998. So that's one thing that's really great about the NCAAs. There's so many talented athletes from around the world who get to race in such a competitive environment that it really brings out the best in them.
Yeah, it's always one of my favorite meets of the year, and it's a quick one, just 2 days. So it's just a lot of finals on that final day on Saturday.
Yeah. Mm-mm. So that concludes our review of stadium events. Let's move now to road races, and in particular, Barcelona Marathon. Stunning debut by Ethiopia's Foyten Tesfaye, 2 hours, 10:51. Now, that's the second best ever. Ooh, pretty amazing. And the funny thing is that in her post-race declarations, she was saying that she was actually going for the world record. So she was almost disappointed. Now, John, what do you think of this stunning performance?
It's hard to put into context, right? Because the last time we saw someone she didn't break the world record, but the last time we saw a performance like this was Ruth Chepngetich 2 years ago in Chicago, and immediately everyone suspected, this 209.56, it must be too good to be true. Could a woman possibly run that fast? Turns out it was too good to be true. She tests positive and is suspended. But in this case now, this is 1 minute faster than any other woman, not Chepngetich, has run in the marathon. And the reaction I think I've seen among track fans is people are wondering, well, is this too fast? Like 1 minute faster? Like, is it possible that a woman like Tesfaye, who has run 63 minutes multiple times in the half marathon, one of the fastest ever, who is part of a training group under coach Gemedu Dedefo that includes Tix DeSefa, that includes Holly Facer, the Chicago Marathon champion from last fall, could she do this? And it is possible. So I don't know. I don't know enough to tell you I think we can't ever say any athlete is 100. We're not 100% certain whether they're clean or dirty. But given what she'd done in the half marathon, I think it's not a surprise she turned out to be a great marathoner. The fact that she did this in her very first marathon, I think some people are like, wow, this is kind of crazy. But it's not quite the same as Chepngetich, who had been grinding away at that event for a decade and then suddenly improves her PB by a ton. This is one of the top half marathoners ever coming into the event and running really well.
Yeah, it's true. She did have a very good base in the half, so it's not as surprising as Chepengetic. Chepengetic did have 3 marks in the top 10, if I'm not wrong. So it wasn't just her world record, but yeah, she did test positive. Okay, so there's another aspect of road races, which is race walks, and the Asian Race Walking Championships took place on 15 March in Nomi in Japan. Some very good marks, all by Japanese athletes, and we'll mention them all in the top marks section, which is where we're heading now. So it's time now to go back to the global overview of our sport and look at all the best results since the last show, starting with the senior men's events. And we'll continue adding in brackets marks which are regular, which are on the respected statistics website Tila Stopaya, but which do not appear on World Athletics lists. So among the men, of course, we have the marks from the World Indoors in Toruń, 60 meters, 6:41 for Jordan Anthony, equals, as we said, number 4 on the all-time list, 6.42 for Trayvon Bromell in the semis. Then Jordan Anthony had also run in the semi 6.43. Then we have mark from Fayetteville from the NCAA, 6.45, as we said, equaled area record for Kayinsola Ajay. Also 6.45 for previous winner in Nanjing, Jeremiah Azu of Great Britain in the semis, and same 6.45 for Kishane Thompson and Trayvon Bromell in the final. 6.46 for Jelani Watkins in Heat 2 at the NCAAs, and 6.46 for Jeremiah Azu in the final. 200 meters, we spoke a lot about the great 19.95 with which Garrett Kerlund won the NCAAs. He also had 20.11 in the heats. That was Heat 1, Heat 4, and Jelani Watkins was second in that heat, also with 20.11. Wanya McCoy in the rounds 20.17, and Jelani Watkins in the final 20.26. 400 meters, we mentioned Samuel Ogazi with a new Africa indoor record of 44.57 at the NCAAs, but there was also a very good mark by the USA's Justin Brown, 44.67. He moves to number 9 on the all-time list. At the World Indoors, Christopher Morales Williams, 44.76. Justin Brown at NCAAs, he had already run 44.77 in the heats. Also at the NCAAs, 44.85 for Jordan Pierre in round 1, 50.00 for Samuel Ogazi in the heats, 45.01 on the first day on 13 March for Jordan Pierre, 45.11 for Jonathan Sims in Fayetteville, and 42.12 in round 1 for Josiah Rice. 800 meters, the very best of the last 2 weeks came from Cooper Lutkenhaus, 1:44.24 in the final and 1:44.29 in the semi. Eliott Crestan, 1:44.25 1:38 in the final. Mohamed Attawi had run 1:44.48 in the semis, and Maciej Widerka was third in that semifinal too, with 1:44.59. Mohamed Attawi in the final, 1:44.66 for bronze. 60-meter hurdles, we've mentioned the excellent 7.32 by Jacoby Tharp, which won him the NCAA title. 7.35 in the semis for Trey Cunningham. 7.36 in Heat 1 for Jacoby Tharp in Fayetteville. 7.40 for gold for Poland's Jakub Szymanski in Toruń. 7.42 for Bradley Franklin in the heats in Fayetteville. 7.42 also for Enrique Llopis to win bronze in Toruń, with the same time as Francis Wilhelm Belocian. That was in the semifinals. And Jakub Szymanski also in the semifinals, 7.42. Pole vault, Mondo Duplantis, he had, of course, 6 meters 31 in his home meet in Uppsala. In Toruń, he cleared 7 meters 25, and this is also the result scores for these marks are amazing. In Toruń, the 6 meters 25 is worth 1,336 points. Manolo Karalis, 6 meters 05 in Toruń. Sondre Guttormsen, 6:06 in Uppsala. Curtis Marshall, 6 meters in Toruń. Sondre Guttormsen, 5.95 in Toruń, same mark as Zachary Bradford. Zachary Bradford also had 5 meters 90 in Uppsala, as did Sam Kendricks and Curtis Marshall. Long jump, 6 meters 46 to win gold for Portugal's Gerson Balde in Toruń. In the shot put, 21 meters 82 for New Zealand's Tom Walsh for gold. Marathon, there were good performances in Seoul. 2 hours 04:22 for Haftu Teklu of Ethiopia. 2:04:23 for Getane Molla, also of Ethiopia. Then 2:04:31 for Gilbert Kibet of Kenya. Then 2 more Ethiopians, 2:04:32 for Tsegaye Getachew and 2:04:35 for Sufaro Voli. In the half marathon race walk at the Asian Championships in Nomi, 1:21:52 for Masatora Kawano, 1:21:55 for Keisuke Hara, 1:21.58 for Tomohiro Noda. These are all marks which are worth between 1,257 and 1,259 points result score. So very, very good performances. Behind them, 1:22:29 for Hayato Katsuki, 1:22:30 for Sotaro Osaka, and 1:22:33 for Yuta Koga, 1:22:49 for Taisei Yoshikazu, and 1:23:01 for Satoshi Maruo. The marathon race walk was not as fast, but there was a very good mark of 2 hours 58:21 by Motofumi Suwa. Heptathlon, of course, world indoor record by Simon Ehammer in Toruń, but a very good performance also by the USA's Peyton Bear at the NCAAs with 6,503 points, moved then to number 6 in the all-time list. 4x400 meters, 3:01:52 for the US in Toruń, and 3:02:07 by South Carolina at the NCAAs. Among the women, we mentioned Adaja Hodge, 22.22 at the NCAAs, the fastest time in 3 years, moves to number 6 in the all-time lists, and she had run 22.28 in the heats. 800 meters, great performance by Keely Hodgkinson at the World Indoors, 1:55.30. That's the second best mark of all time after her world record, but a very good time also for Switzerland's Audrey Huero, silver with 1:56.64, who moves to number 5 in the all-time lists. 1,500 meters, 3:58.53 for Georgia Hunter Bell, 3:59.45 for Jessica Hull, 3:59.68 for Nikki Hills, and Agathe Guillemot, 3:59.71, just off the podium. First time an athlete runs sub-4 and is off the podium at the World Indoors. 60-meter hurdles. We mentioned, of course, the 7.65 world record equaled by Devin Charlton. And in the marathon, 2 hours 10:51 for Foyten Tesfaye, number 2 of all time, with a result score of 1,303. There were also good performances in the 4x400 at the NCAAs, 3:23.63 for Arkansas, with Kaylin Brown, Annalise Batista, Sanu Jallo, and Sanaria Butler, and 3:24.48 for Georgia, with Shakina Foot, Skylar Brazel, Bimbaye Maizorewa, and Dijana Oakley. They moved to number 4 on the all-time lists. Arkansas's time is better than number 3, but they actually have the best ever time. Best performances of 2026, with 3 new entries from this fortnight. The top 2 marks are pole vault, Mondo Duplantis' 6:31 world record, worth 1,353 points. And as we said, 6 meters 25 in Toruń is worth 1,336. Third of the year so far, mile 3:45.94 by Cole Hawker in Winston-Salem. Then another pole vault mark, 6.17 by Manolo Karalis at the Greek Indoors. 800 meters world indoor record of 1:42.50 by Josh Hoey. And then we have the third new entry over the 200 meters, 19.95 by Garrett Kalund at the NCAAs. Top list continues with the mile 3:47.57 by Cameron Myers at Millrose Games. Half marathon world record of 57:20 by Jacob Kiplimo. Then the 2,000 meters world indoor best by Hobbs Kessler for 48.79, and the 1,500 meter split by Cole Hawker in Winston-Salem. Best women's performances of 2026. There are 2 new entries from the fortnight. The very best is now Foyten Tesfaye with her 2 hours 10:51 in the marathon. That's, as we said, 1,303 points. Then there's a lots of 10K mark in this list. Brenda Jepchirchir, 29:25 in Valencia, and Likina Meba, 25:29. 800 meters, Keely Hodgkinson world record is in 4th with 1,272 points. Then another 10K mark, Caroline Makandi Gitonga, 29:34 in Castellón. Marathon, 2:14:29 by Bridget Kosgei in Tokyo. Keely Hodgkinson's 800-meter winning time in Toruń is worth 1,264 points and makes the top 10. Then we have this mark by Faith Kipyegon, and I'm still waiting for World Athletics to tell me why they don't include it in the lists. And 29:49 by Claire Ndiwa in the Valencia 10K. So Chaltu Dida and Lois Chemnung have been booted out of the top 10. There were also some very good performances by under 20 and under 18 athletes over the past fortnight, including at US high school events. Now, World Athletics doesn't include in their top lists performances held in meetings which were not declared as part of the World Athletics calendar. And this unfortunately includes a lot of high school events, the smaller ones, not the big Nike nationals or New Balance nationals, but the smaller meets. And that's why we'll see a lot of brackets, especially among the under 18. So here we go with the under 20 top marks. Amir Thompson had set a wonderful 20.40 in Lubbock on 28 February. And at the NCAAs, he ran another very good time of 20:49. In the 400 meters, Jonathan Sims has really dominated the season after his world under 20 record. In Fayetteville at the NCAAs, he clocked an excellent 45.11. Quincy Wilson in Brighton, Massachusetts, 45.37. Also in Brighton, 45.38 for Jaden DeLeon, who moves to number 7 on the under 20 all-time list. And in the heats in the NCAAs, 45.62 for Jonathan Sims. Tomasz Horak in Toruń, 45.70. As we said, he was 5th in the final. 45.83 for Jaden Horton Mims in Heat 1 in Fayetteville, and 45.89 for Tomasz Horak of Czechia in the heats in Toruń. 800 meters, of course, the marks by Cooper Lutkenhaus, they are not only in the seniors, but of course in the under 20s, excellent performances. And among the under 20s, also the 146.24, which he ran in the heats, would make the top 15 of all time. 60-meter hurdles, Liezra Brown continues to shine. He's totally dominated the season this year. And at the NCAAs, he improved by 100 to 7.56. This is on the senior hurdles, while on the under 20 hurdles, 99 centimeters, Zacchaeus Brox, 7.44 in Brighton, moves to number 3 on the under 20 all-time list. There's also a 7.48 by Jason Noah Bay in Berwyn. That would be number equal 5th. And Zacchaeus Brox had also clocked 7.55 in Brighton on 14 March. There's 2 more marks which are not on Tila Stopaya, not on World Athletics, 7.58 for Ryan Hangley of the US in Brownsburg on 11 March. That would be number 12 on the under 20 all-time list. And 7.59 for Joshua K. Smith, on 15 March in New York at the Armory. That would be equal 16th. And the same mark on 14 March in Brighton by Avanti Earl. On the outdoor hurdles, 110, 13.02 for Naeem Jack of South Africa. He moves to number 8 on the under 20 all-time list. Zacharia Dia of France cleared a 5.70 m in the pole vault, moves to equal number 14 on the all-time list, and he has the 5 best under 20 marks of the year between 5.55 and 5.70. Then we've already mentioned H26 for Jorge Jodelin of Cuba in Toruń. Among the women, there's a mark which I hadn't included in the screen because it was on 25 March in Kingston at the Boys and Girls Championships over 100 meters, 10.98 for Shanoya Michaela Douglas. That's not only equal number 10 on the under 20 all-time list, but it's also a senior outdoor world lead. Over 200 meters, Elise Cooper of the US has really been the dominant athlete, and she has another great mark of 22.84 at the NCAAs. 22.84 also for Mariah Maxwell at the Armory in New York on 15 March. Elise Cooper's fastest time was in the heats and in the final at NCAA, 22.91. 400 meters, another athlete who's dominated her event is Choma Nwachukwu of Nigeria, 51.84 in heat 3 at the NCAAs. 60-meter hurdles, again, one athlete has been really dominant, and that's the USA's Madeline Cooper at the NCAAs in second in heat 1 with 8.04. That is better than number 11 on the under 20 all-time list, but she already has number 4. So that's it for the under 20s. Let's move now to the under 18s. 200 meters, 20.90 for the USA's Stephen Lyon in Boston, Massachusetts. He moves to number 4 on the under 18 all-time lists. There's a mark which is not until on World Athletics, 21.10 by Javon Legister in Staten Island. That was then number 11 on the under 18 all-time list. And Stephen Lyon had also run 21.15 in the heats in Boston. Then Michael Walker, also in Boston, 21.22. Javon Legister, this one is on World Athletics because it was in Boston, which was on the calendar, 21.22, and 21.24 for Stephen Lyon in the heats in Philadelphia. 400 meters, a mark which is not on World Athletics, 46.95 for Cameron Homer of the US in Brighton. That would be number 8 on the under 18 all-time list. And 47.22 for Tristan Luño at the Spanish under 20 championships in Antequera. He moves to number 11 on the under 18 all-time list. The 60 meters, the under 18 height of 91.4, that's been dominated by Jared Ejasian, but there was a very good mark also at the under age Spanish championships in Antequera by Nicolas Ceballos, 7.56 6.1 moves to equal number 7 on the age category all-time list, and also 7.65 for the Netherlands' El Jaro Philipsen in Dortmund. Discus throw, very good mark by South Africa's Joshua Gerber, 66 meters, 0.74. He moves to number 14 on the under 20 all-time list. Among the women, 60 meters, 7.25 for Zoe Holt of the US. She's only born in 2011, so it's pretty amazing. And that would be equal number 9 on the under 18 all-time list. Then another mark not on the World Athletics list, 7.27 for Cameron Daly of the US, which would equal number 11 on the age category list. And as we saw, 7.27 again, also for Italy's Kelly Douala in Toruń. 200 meters, Melanie Doggett, 23.11 at the Armory in New York, would be number 3 on the under 18 all-time list. 23.30 for Cameron Daly in the heats in Clemson. 23.37 for Vanessa Waite in Boston, moves to equal number 12 on the all-time list. 800 meters, Paige Shepard had 2 faster times this year, but in Boston, she ran 2:04.25, which is better than number 11 on the all-time list, but she already has number 3. So that's it. As we saw, some really pretty impressive marks, also by underage athletes. So here, let's look now at upcoming events as we reach the end of our show. Today and tomorrow in Melbourne, Maury planned to meet at the World Athletics Continental Tour Gold event. On Saturday, also the 10 in San Juan Capistrano. That's a silver meet. 29 March marathon in Yangzhou in China. 4 April, Miramas Invitational in Florida. That's also a World Athletics Continental Tour silver, but also a meet which is not as high in the World Athletics ranking, but always produces good results, which is the Urban Trail in Lille. Well, they will contest 5 and 10K. And Jimmy Gressier, who has the European record, will attempt to break the world record. So we'll see how that goes. 4 to 6 April is also Carifta Games for under 17 and under 20 athletes, held in St. George's, Grenada, in the Kirani James Stadium. 12 April, World Race Walking Team Championships in Brasilia. That is also the day when top marathons take place in Rotterdam and Paris. 19 April, top marathons in Vienna, Istanbul, and Qingdao in China. Then on 20 April, the Boston Marathon, the second one this year of the World Marathon Majors. 22 to 25 April, very intense weekends of relays, Drake relays in Des Moines in Iowa, and Penn relays in Philadelphia. 24 April is also the Kip Keino Classic in Nairobi, Continental Tour Gold. 25 April, Korzeniowski Warsaw Race Walking Cup, World Race Walking Tour Silver. 26 April, London Marathon, and also other top marathons in Madrid, Beijing, Dalian, also in China, and Gifu in Japan. 26 April, Botswana Golden Grand Prix in Gaborone. And on the 28th, Simbine Classic in Pretoria. Both are Continental Tour silvers. Then on 2 and 3 May, World Relays in Gaborone. That should be interesting. 3 May, also top marathons in Prague and Cali. 8 May, now the Doha meeting is in the calendar, first Diamond League meeting of the season. But the Uganda Diamond League today announced that they're monitoring the situation with organizers and will decide at the latest by 8 April whether to go ahead with the meeting or not. 8 May is also the Podebrady walking event in Czech Republic, which is a World Race Walking Tour Gold. So we're now at the end of our program, and it was great having Jonathan with us on the show.
Yep. Always nice talking with you, Anna. Thanks for having me on and being able to look back on a few great championships.
Yeah, lovely. I just loved it. So thank you, Jonathan. Thank you all for watching. Now we'll be taking a little break in the coming weeks as athletics activity is less intense in mid-April. We'll be back with the regular Love Athletics program just after the Boston Marathon to look together at the comments, highlights, and analysis of what's been happening in our sport over the next few weeks. In the meantime, enjoy the athletic action that is taking place, and see you soon. Thank you again, Jonathan.
Thanks, Anna.